Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Mark, aka the FPL General, to reveal his GW9 team. We'll also look at potential Saka alternatives and the fixtures, which become very favourable for a different set of teams in a few weeks' time. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well, Joe. Good to be back for another video. Not a great FPL game week, which I think is common among most FPL managers this weekend, but we did have a very interesting, fascinating weekend with lots of shenanigans going on. So it was not many FPL points out there, but there was a lot of fun had along the way.
Yeah, there was. I mean, my favourite bit was fellow West Country fantasy manager Andy Martin dipping down to the hotel where all Arsenal were staying to measure himself against the sign of which Saka allegedly, and it turns out it wasn't Saka, was next to. So measuring Saka's height compared to his. And he managed to get through a cordon and get the photo taken, which was quite amazing, really. And then the follow-up to that was a lot of people got moved Saka out at the last minute, got, say, Son in or Foden. They were two of the popular choices. And there was lots of accusations that there was some kind of nefarious FPL cartel. But I personally saw most of those, and I just thought they were just joking. And I think I haven't seen any. I didn't see any. I mean, probably because I blocked or muted various people, but I didn't see any that genuinely seemed to think that. Did you get that gist?
Yeah, it was. I switched off a bit on Friday evening, so I kind of missed a lot of the Andy Martin stuff and the Saka stuff until around midnight when I was going to bed, and I had a really good that picture of Andy Martin might be my favorite FPL picture of all time. So thanks for entertaining us with that, Andy. The cartel stuff is just hilarious, really. It's completely overreaction, overblown. It's kind of a new thing last couple of years. We had Walker last season, and of course people have always got information, but there's so much scrutiny now on people, with content creators and stuff. And you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you help people and it doesn't work out, you're screwed. If you don't share info, you're screwed. So I just avoid it completely. I got burned a couple of times myself, learned a few lessons. So I just made my transfers Friday night, even though I had Saka, and was very close to taking a -4 to get Foden, actually. I didn't really entertain Son at all. So yeah, unfortunately, if there is a cartel, I don't really like group chats. I get added to a lot and I just leave. I spend too much time on my phone anyway. So yeah, if there is a cartel, unfortunately I wasn't part of it.
I'm in two or three, and one of them does involve Andy Martin, actually. It's the West Country FPL managers one. But there's not many of us, and we're not really a cartel. But yeah, I did what I usually do, where I just do nothing. I'd planned to save a transfer, and I just thought, well, look, I've got Semenyo on the bench. Saka doesn't show up. I'll take my chances with Semenyo. It didn't work out, but others would have had, say, Rodgers on their bench coming off. In your case, Mikalenko, but we'll come to that in a sec.
Just before we move away, I hope Andy Martin spoke to the management of the hotel. If not that night, the next day. I hope now FPL managers will get a 20% discount if they quote Andy Martin at reception when they're checking in.
Wow, that'd be good. Yeah. Nice weekend away in Bournemouth, which of course Saka didn't have himself. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the previous game week. We're going to have a look at some Saka replacements if those want to get rid of him. It may be that he's back, but the fixtures aren't so great. So could look elsewhere. We'll look at the fixtures. We're going to do fixtures 9 to 12. And then in 12, they do actually change. And then I'm going to look at game weeks 13 to 16 to look at that next four to see how that sort of shapes that following set of fixtures there. And then we'll finally, the bit most people come for, what's your game week 9 team? So we'll have a look at that as well. Do press that like button, does help us out, and do remember to subscribe so you can listen to wherever you listen to podcasts and also on YouTube. And also do leave a 5-star review if you're listening to this, not watching. Thanks a lot for that. Okay, let's have a look at your game week 8. Oh, I remember the days when game week 8 had like Tadic, Aguero hat trick. I remember getting about 140 points or something one week in a game week 8. Changed the season, not so this time around. 27 points. I got that as well. I've got that so far as well.
Speaking of nostalgia, I don't know if you see my tweet earlier. I was on every Monday morning. I jump into the Scout members area, doing a bit of research for the podcast and stuff, and I like how you can filter on old seasons, and I've never really done it before. But I went back this morning to 2011, 2012 midfielders, big chances. It was, Clint Dempsey, Dirk
Oh,
Kuyt, Lampard. It was a great
glory
list of
days.
players, Van der Vaart, Gareth Bale. But yeah, check out the tweet. There's some great names in that. Yeah, and again, that's a plug for the Scout members area.
Yeah.
It's not just this season's numbers. You can get lost.
Oh, I'll
And
have
I
a look
was,
at that.
as
Yeah.
always,
Yeah, I'll have a look at that.
procrastinating what I should have been doing. I
Yeah.
was not doing, and I was reliving the glory years. But
Oh,
back to 2024, 27 points. Mikolenko's going to come off the bench for Saka. So that was a nice surprise. I was doing quite well on Saturday. I was sitting on a green arrow, and it turned red big time on Sunday because Palmer and Trent blanked in the Liverpool game. Captain Haaland blanked, as did Rico Lewis.
yeah.
So just for the audio listeners, Flecken with a 4-pointer, nothing from Trent, Gabriel, Lewis. Rogers, the only midfielder to return, blanks for Palmer, Bumo, and Johnson. And up front, Calvert-Lewin, again, good XG, no FPL points, and Haaland blanked as well. So yeah, thankfully, Mikolenko will come in to make it
Great.
34 points.
Yeah. Looking good there for 34 points. That might give you a slight green arrow, would it? Maybe.
I don't
Maybe.
think so. I think I was
Okay.
600k. I think I'll end up about 700k.
Okay. Right. Yeah. I've still got. I'm on 27 points, and I've got Chris Wood to go. So fingers crossed. He's in
Got a
a
hat trick to come yet then?
well. He's in a pattern of not scoring and scoring. So he scores one week, doesn't the next, and he's in the doesn't the next bit. But I'm hoping he's in a new phase of that rotation of goals, and where he just gets a brace the next week. So he's a brace, goal, no goal, goal, no goal, brace, goal, no goal, no, etc., etc. So I'm hoping, a hat trick, that'd be amazing. But yeah, Chris Wood hat trick would completely transform my season. So that would be good. I got Mikolenko stays on my bench, sadly. No luck for me there. But I did have Verbruggen. It's 10 points on the bench. And I quite like that because that says to me, I can start playing Verbruggen and get rid of and bench Flecken from Game Week 12 onwards. And I think I might do that. So
Yeah, it's nice to have another option in goal. I've got Flecken, and hopefully it'll be Raya, later when we look at the fixtures, when Arsenal's fixtures improve. But just on the Mikolenko clean sheet, I knew he was obviously coming off the bench, and typical FPL fashion, the Everton game I think was delayed for a while, so
was
it
15
felt
minutes.
like an eternity waiting for that final whistle. I don't think it blew till well
Yeah.
after 5 o'clock, but a big relief when it did happen.
Well, I think, and we're in a nostalgic frame of mind. The greatest moment of that for me was when I captained Drogba, who was benched, and vice captain Lampard, who went on to score, I think, the highest ever single game week score. And I was waiting for that third sub to be made for Chelsea, and I was thinking, please don't bring Drogba on, and it wasn't Drogba. That was the moment. It was just so, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was my Mikolenko moment.
I had a good one last season as well. I remember Gabriel Gate at the start of the season. I think it was game
Yeah.
week 2. I think I had Gusto 14-pointer for sub, and I needed Arteta to keep Gabriel on the bench, and I think he did. So yeah, it's nice to talk about good things when we've had a bad game week.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So you're 34 points. The average is 32.
Fine.
There'll be that average will go up a bit with subs and various things. But yeah, I would imagine the average may be around 40, depending on what happens tonight. Because I don't think there's a lot of ownership for Crystal Palace or Nottingham Forest. Bits, but not too much. Let's have a look at Saka replacements. Now, I've started to think about I might move Saka as well. Because the fixtures aren't that good, but I was tempted to keep. But yeah, I mean, if he's definitely still flagged, so if he misses out midweek, we'll know this. Perhaps by the time you're watching this, you or listening to this, you might know whether Saka is fit midweek for Europe. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at the fixtures. Game week 9, Liverpool at home, not great. Newcastle away, you never know with Newcastle. Chelsea away, not great. And then Nottingham Forest. That's actually quite tricky, I think. I mean, given how they were against Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest beat Liverpool earlier. So Saka could be surplus to requirements. So let's have a look at some replacements. You've already got Palmer. You do have Haaland in your team at the moment. So that does restrict. You haven't got like a spare 5 million somewhere. But I put the most expensive ones up. So I've sorted this by minutes per expected goal involvement. And I've kept it to sort of 8 to 11, 8 to Salah level. So Salah's the most expensive in here. And Bruno Fernandes, who, still, in our minds, still a premium, but he's sort of the lower end of that. He's 8.2. So anyway, we'll do that. We'll go down the list in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, and I'll read out some stats. And we've got their next 4 fixtures up on the screen as well. So Palmer's top, already in your side. I think quite a good fixture. It's home to Newcastle. Newcastle, when they're at home, can be tricky, but Newcastle at home. So Palmer, I mean, okay. Here's the question: Haaland, you've got Haaland, keeps blanking against easy sides. Would you just captain Palmer? Because I can see Palmer getting returns for this.
If it wasn't Southampton for
Yeah.
Haaland, that's the big factor.
Yeah.
I think there would, if City had a trickier fixture this week, a lot of people would just move away from Haaland captaincy because 3 blanks in a row, it gets
Yeah.
frustrating. But yeah, it's all about the fixture this week, and Southampton just conceded three late goals to Leicester as well. So I think it's an easy decision to stick with Haaland. Maybe not easy for everyone if you're getting frustrated, but it's all about the fixtures. But Palmer, I mean, I have him. If I didn't already have him, I still think Saka to Palmer makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You look at Saka's fixtures, the injury. Palmer doesn't play Europe. He ticks so many boxes. He's been a bit quieter himself recently, but again, Newcastle, I really like that fixture because they're really struggling this season.
Yeah.
Losing at home to your side, Brighton at the weekend. It's just not really clicking for them at the moment. So a good time for Palmer and Co to play them.
Yeah, I mean that's a move I'm thinking of doing, and I could possibly get rid of Haaland in game week 10 even, because 15 million I want more. Even if it was a goal or a goal and an assist, that's fine. But you've got Palmer, Salah. They all look a bit more likely to get me FPL points. But anyway, Palmer, five assists, 24 chances created, 6 goals. That's 11 attacking returns, 11 shots on target. It's got Newcastle, Manchester United away, not too bad. Arsenal at home, that's tricky. Then Leicester away. It's quite a good run, and then the run gets better after that period. And he started every game because he is not on the list for their European squads. Yeah, good one. His next name though, De Bruyne. His minutes per expected goal involvement is every 104 minutes. Palmer, by the way, was every 103 minutes. So a goal involvement a game. So very limited starts because of injury. He's only 9.4 now. He's got an assist. He's got a goal. He's created 16 chances. Had 3 shots on target. Southampton at home next. Bournemouth away. Brighton away. Tottenham at home. These are really good fixtures for him. And I think the real mavericks amongst the FPL managers will go for De Bruyne because I think he's going to be back. I think he's back in training, but he just wasn't fit enough for the weekend.
Yeah, he seems pretty close. And yeah, a very, very tempting differential if he does return, especially for the Southampton fixture, because, Foden on the bench again, just it's an odd one with Foden, but it seems to be tactical and Pep's favouring wingers. We had Savinho and Doku, and then Grealish came on and stuff like that as well. So Foden, it's hard to spend 9.2 on him when his minutes are not secure. I mean, we could say the same about De Bruyne, but when he was fit start of the season, he was getting a lot more minutes than Foden was, and we know what De Bruyne is capable of. So yeah, I'm definitely interested. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on the De Bruyne situation this week because there's a good chance I will sell Saka if there's any doubt whatsoever this week about his fitness. Throw in the fixtures for the next 3 game weeks, then I will be looking for a replacement.
Yeah,
and it could be De Bruyne.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, I mean, I'll dip down. I'll just skip a few names. I'll go back to them, but we'll mention Foden. He's 9.2 now. Minutes per expected goal involvement every 159 minutes, much lower than De Bruyne. Just that 1 assist, 1 shot on target, 6 chances created. But he's only had 1 start, so this is from a handful of substitute appearances. But that says it all, really. I mean, he had a busy summer. Wasn't really injured. Came back not fit. And so you would think, that's why so many people got him in for this week. But, that's it. 1 start, benched again. De Bruyne, if he is fit, he does tend to play, and he's clearly needed. They're they dominated play. I can't remember what the midfield passes was, but I think I heard on the radio it was a record in the Premier League. But yeah, and they only just edged it against Wolves, so they clearly need to do a bit better.
Yeah, and especially we're talking about Haaland there and three blanks. It's definitely no coincidence that it's happened without De Bruyne and Rodri as well. So
Yeah,
getting De Bruyne back in will just increase, Haaland's
yeah.
potential as well. So maybe the double up could be fruitful when you look at those fixtures for the next 4 game weeks.
Definitely. Salah's next. He's a player I've definitely got my eye on game week 10, that home game against Brighton. Man City, Haaland faces Bournemouth away. And I think Salah is a better option at home for that one. I could probably live without Salah for this next game because they play Arsenal away. But Brighton at home, Villa at home, Southampton away, that looks quite good for Salah. Just got a haul against Chelsea. Yeah, 32 years old, but 12.6 million, and they're the down bits. But he doesn't look 32, and he's arguably worth more than Haaland at the moment. So 5 assists, 15 shots on target, 5 goals, creates 16 chances, and those great fixtures starting every game as well.
Yeah, we've both said over the last couple of weeks that we've made our peace with not getting Salah and not planning to get him, but Salah just doesn't go away,
No,
does he? He's
I
just still Salah. And I've had a quick look at things in different websites and all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people, especially if Haaland doesn't go big against Southampton, even if he just gets a goal, they're going to make the flip. Those who have more than one free transfer will be going Haaland to Salah
yeah,
game week 10. And even for a hit, if you need to, if
yeah,
if you think Salah's the best captain for Brighton at home, Villa home, Southampton away, then a lot of people are going to go there.
yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to get there, but he's always got to be in our mind.
Yeah, definitely. I am thinking that, and I'm increasingly looking at my team and thinking that those that went without Haaland early on, straight off the bat, just made peace with that, lived through those hat tricks. I think I wouldn't say they've won this season, but I would say so far they've got a good chance of doing so because they have managed to get, because you've got Palmer, you've got Son, you've got Salah, you've got Saka, you've got Haaland. I don't know if I mentioned him as well, and you've also got Watkins. All very reliable, strong picks. You can arguably captain them most weeks. Brian and Bomo, you can pretty much captain him most weeks as well. He's returned all that time. To afford them all, and Haaland, who's 15 million, over 15 million, I'm starting to think you just need to get as many of them as you can, and Haaland has to make way, I think.
Yeah, it's the beauty of the season. We've said it so many times. So many good picks, too many good picks that are expensive. So the game weeks, you're going to have great game weeks and you're going to have shocking game weeks because some weeks it'll be your guys and some weeks
Yeah.
it won't. And I think again definitely play the fixtures. Saka's a good example. If you don't like Saka's fixtures, you take him out for another big hitter, even
Yeah.
if it was a Watkins or someone. If you need to flip to a forward, but just again make peace with who you have and trust them. Don't try and catch lightning in a bottle every game week. Don't jump around too much. But yeah, it's a great season and
Yeah.
it's making a lot of very good managers are 3 million, 4 million, 5 million ranked, and
Yeah.
that's because the prices are good this season. So
Definitely.
it's making for a good campaign.
Oh yeah, eagle-eyed viewers will notice I haven't put the ranks on because I don't really know what our ranks are at the moment because there's lots of substitute appearances, substitutes to come in, and I've still got Chris Wood to go. So I'm 1.5 million on a red arrow at the moment, but that will go up because I've got some points coming off the bench and Chris Wood to play. Mark is, I think, around 900k. But he'll probably be much higher because you've got 7 points from Mikolenko coming off the bench. So that's why we haven't
Yeah,
got
I
any
think
ranks on the back pitch.
went into the game week 599k, and I would say it'll shake out about 750k
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. So I know people are nuts for the ranks. They're dying to know what we all get in the red arrows. We don't know yet because the game week hasn't finished. So we're recording this on Monday. But after tonight, you should know that if you're watching then. Next name is Saka himself. So this might make you want to keep him. He's 10.1. I think he might go down to 10 million this week, during the week. Minutes per expected goal involvement every 108 minutes, just below Salah's at every 107 minutes. So pretty much goal involvement a game. 7 assists, 27 chances, which is even better than Palmer. A couple of goals, 11 shots on target. But the fixtures. So he's got Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Chelsea away, so that's quite tricky. Then Nottingham Forest at home, which is I think is tricky. And he's had those 7 starts, but he should, if fit, he should start. Yeah, I mean, are you just tempted just to keep him, just ride him out through these, keep him in your team through these fixtures?
That kind of was my initial plan, and that's why I didn't sell him at the weekend. I had to prioritize Semenyo out anyway because he was playing Arsenal, and I wanted to fix that position. That's why, I left Saka, and it was going to be a -4 to get rid of him, and I just didn't feel I wanted to get Foden for a -4 because it felt risky, and that
Yeah,
proved to be the right
yeah,
decision.
yeah.
So Saka is, I'm always about fixtures, and when you throw in a definite injury now into the mix, and if there's any doubt whatsoever, all of those factors for me, it'll be a jump off him for a couple of weeks
Yeah,
with the plan of jumping back on later.
yeah.
So this is a great list of players that Saka's not essential. So
No,
I'd rather go to someone who's 100% fit that I don't need to worry about for a few weeks.
definitely there. So got Son next. I can't say I was ever going to get him in, so I can't be one of those people saying, "Oh, I wish I'd got him in." It never entertained that thought because I've got Johnson in my side, who had his chances as well, but it was Son who came away with the big score. He has only started 6 games because of that injury. 15 chances created, had 3 assists, 3 goals, 6 shots on target. He's only 9.8. Minutes per expected goal involvement, not as high as the others, so it's every 173.6 minutes, so sort of goal involvement every game and a bit. Every sort of other game almost. But I know from looking at his statistics for a number of years, Son is one of those players that he's very, very accurate. So I don't mind those minutes per expected goal involvement. He scores the sort of goals that other players can't score. But yeah, the Spurs lineup: Son, Johnson on the wings, Solanke in the middle. Though I don't know, you've got Johnson now, or
Yeah,
yeah,
that was another factor why Son was never in my thoughts at the weekend. My initial instinct, if I was going to sell Salah, 5 minutes before, sorry, Saka, five
yeah,
minutes before the deadline, it was going to be for Foden. I kind of forgot about Son because of the injury and stuff like that. And the fact that I bought Johnson Friday night, I was never going to buy Son as well. I felt like one piece of the Tottenham pie would have been enough for me for that game week. But now that we're one game week further and Saka didn't play, I'd be more than happy to double up on Son and Johnson. Again, fixtures, Palace is good, Villa at home, Ipswich at home is great. Man City not so much, but Son has a good record against
yeah,
Manchester City. So just a great player and picks up assists even when they're not assists and hit the inside of the post as well. Very unlucky not to get
yeah,
another goal. And I didn't own him. I was watching the game when he went through. I think it was Sarr that played him through on the left. Got in a 1v1. I just knew straight away what the outcome was going to be before it hit the back of the net. He's
yeah,
just so clinical. So
yeah.
I would like to own him again. And it's probably going to come down to a Son versus De Bruyne shootout for me as a Saka
Oh,
replacement.
really? Yeah.
And on current information, I think Son will probably win out.
Yeah, I mean, the fixtures are pretty good. Crystal Palace away, Aston Villa at home, Ipswich at home, Man City away. That's quite tricky, but the next 3 certainly very strong for Son. I don't have Palmer, so Palmer for me would be the top replacement for Saka. You have Palmer already, so yeah, it is a tougher choice. And I think Son would just have the edge. Although when we look at game week 10, we'll look at the fixtures in a sec. I do think Salah could be intriguing. So do you worry about locking yourself out of Salah? Even with the Haaland money, you would still need to get rid of potentially a good midfielder in order to get Salah in. So if you got Son in, would you? Is that it in terms of heavy hitters in midfield? Palmer, Son.
It might have to be because if I go Saka to Son, for example, this week, straight away it's going to be a -4 game week 10 for Salah. And when you throw in a -4 that loses an Erling Haaland, it doesn't feel great.
No.
So I might just roll without Salah as much as I would like to have him. Brighton, Villa, Southampton, and just hope what I have matches him
Yeah.
or at least doesn't fall too far behind. And I've got Trent from Liverpool. So yeah, again, I'm not going to rip up my squad to get there. If I had 2 or 3 free transfers right now, I'd be getting Salah game week 10. But I've only got 1 and I might have a Saka issue. So, I mean, I could just go somehow get to Salah even with a -4 this week. But again, he plays
Yeah.
Arsenal, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not Salah time.
I think most likely I'll just stick with Haaland, stick with Palmer and Son, and
Yeah.
just hope for the best.
Okay, and final name on this list is Bruno Fernandes. Much maligned this season because his minutes per expected goal involvement every 191 minutes. So that is a goal involvement every other game. Just 2 assists, no goals, 8 chances created, 5 shots on target. He's playing every game. So I would expect much better underlying stats for him, considering he started and is playing most of those games, if not all of those games. So it's West Ham next, though. They are giving up chances. Chelsea at home, that's a bit tougher. Leicester at home, that could be good. Ipswich away, that could be good as well. Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, as a neutral, I was if I was going to invest in Manchester United, which I'm not, I would go for Garnacho, who's a bit cheaper, and he always just looks the most threatening at the moment. But you are a Manchester United fan, and we always know in FPL when Manchester United start to pick up form, then you start to see a lot of transfer activity because there's so many Manchester United fans worldwide.
Yeah. Bruno Fernandes is always a fine FPL option. And if you can't stretch to some of these other players, then of course you look at the fixtures, what he's capable of, his historical numbers, then it's absolutely fine. But I agree with you that I don't think Bruno's worth 2 million more than Garnacho.
No.
You know, Garnacho I think has dropped to 6.2. He's got 90 minutes in the last 4 games. And the fixtures look great as well. I just
Yeah.
think he's the Manchester United midfielder to own. And as we know, especially this season, 2 million saved is huge. So that could be almost a Salah over
Yeah.
a Saka.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bruno's fine. If you have him, I would keep him probably. But if you don't have a Manchester United midfielder, then I think Garnacho's the one to go for.
Definitely. Okay, yeah, lots of. Hopefully, that's given everyone lots of food for thought. It's certainly got my mind racing, and I know Mark as well is looking at the options here. There's a lot of good options here, and once you remove Saka, pretty much all of them are affordable. Although Salah could be tricky to get to as well. But for those without Haaland, happy days. You can have all of this, all of them. Well, you can only have 5 midfielders. Probably can't have all of them, but imagine that: Palmer, De Bruyne, Salah, Saka, Son, midfield.
Five, 4 million defenders at the back.
I don't know how it would be done. Someone out there might be able to do that. Yeah, you'd have one striker, and it might be Nketiah. I don't know, or the Brighton one. I don't know. But anyway, let's move on to the fixtures. We'll have a look at your Game Week 9 team. So you've alluded to your transfer plans anyway already. So I've done this separately. So I've done Game Weeks 9 up to 12. And then Game Weeks 13 to 16. And these show for the next 4, Everton are still top. Fulham are top as well. They've got Everton, Brentford, Crystal Palace and Wolves. Brentford are top still. They've got Ipswich, Fulham, Bournemouth and Everton. Manchester United, good fixtures. We mentioned them already. Starting with West Ham, and they've got Leicester and Ipswich in the mix the next 4. Wolves, they start to move up a bit. So they've got Brighton away, but then they've got Crystal Palace and Southampton at home, and then Fulham away. West Ham's getting a bit better. So to Leicester. Man City is sort of mid-table here. Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton up next, the next 3. But then they've got Tottenham. But right at the bottom, Brighton still, Arsenal, Southampton, Bournemouth, and Aston Villa. Although it's worth noting Bournemouth's fixtures improve game week 11. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're all working with at the moment. But we do need to be aware of the fixtures in Game Week 12 and beyond, I think.
Yeah, and I think this is a really healthy way to look at a fixture ticker. It's kind of how I usually do it. I like looking at the next 4 game weeks and also the next 8 game weeks. Can I get 2 pictures? Because as we see here, very often it could be quite contrasting. Teams fixtures can flip very, very quickly. Brighton's probably the best example here. You know, they go from the bottom for the next 4 to the third for the 4 after that. So always good to know what's right in front of us, but also what's around the corner, because that is going to dictate everything you do in terms of transfers and captaincy. So just look at the next 4. You know, it's Calvert-Lewin. He's been disappointing, but he's top of the ticker with Everton. So he's never the weakest link in the squad, and hopefully the goals are on the way. But interestingly, Fulham are second on the ticker, and Mr. Raul Jimenez is looking like the old Raul Jimenez, which is really, really, you know, it's the feel-good factor of the season. I think we all wanted him to get back there. and he looks like he is now. He's enjoying his football. He's scoring loads of goals, and he's really cheap. So, Calvert-Lewin to Raul Jimenez is actually probably a fine transfer for anyone who's losing faith.
Definitely.
Brentford are up there. I've got Flecken, 4 good fixtures, probably 0 clean sheets, but hopefully some saves. And then Bumo just continues to be a great option. Bumo's a great captaincy option against Ipswich. If I don't think he's blanked at home yet. I think he's got at least 8 points in every home game, and Haaland's under pressure when he's got,
That's what's getting me with.
It's going to take a
yeah.
brave manager to captain Mbeumo over Haaland.
I was going to say that's what annoys me. That's why I was like, I'm so keen to get that out. That's what annoys me about Haaland. It's not that he's blanking. It's not that it's just that huge money. It's just he's taking the captaincy away from all these good picks. We know that Brian Mbeumo, like you just said, is really good captaincy option at home. He's at home to Ipswich. I should be captaining him, but I can't because I've got Haaland in my side.
I know you do get held hostage, don't you? It's the 15.4 million price tag around his neck, my neck, and your neck that makes you put the armband on him. But maybe myself and yourself need to start a movement this week for the Brian Mbeumo captaincy at home to Ipswich, because like I said, he hasn't blanked at home. He's so reliable, and he's got quite a high ceiling as well. He's got assists, he's got set pieces, penalties, everything. So Mbeumo versus Haaland is going to be an interesting one this week.
Definitely. Okay, well, let's have a look at the fixtures from game week 13 to 17. Well, it's completely different. Wolves are absolutely top. We've already started to see Nori in some teams. We're starting to see Strand Larsen in some teams, Kuna in some teams. I've got my eye on Wolves. I've got Havertz at the moment, and I think I might go for a Wolves striker. Perhaps not this game week, but game week 10, and that would mean that it frees up a bit of money to get Salah. But yeah, Bournemouth at home, game week 13. Everton away, game week 14. West Ham away, game week 15. Ipswich at home, game week 16. It's a good run. Ipswich is still top. Brighton have moved from bottom to third because they've got Southampton at home, Fulham away, Leicester away, Crystal Palace at home. It's a strong run there. Arsenal's fixtures, they're really good. So we're removing Saka, but we might want to get him back. West Ham at home, Manchester United, West Ham away, Manchester United at home, Fulham away, Everton at home. Aston Villa's fixtures are pretty good, actually. They've got Southampton and Brentford at home, which are good, but although they do have Chelsea away and Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth, they shoot up the table a bit. They do have Tottenham, but they've also got Wolves, Ipswich and West Ham, and West Ham giving up those chances. Tottenham's still good. Fulham, Bournemouth, Chelsea and Southampton. It's a very strong run, so you're going to want to keep Son as well. We can't keep them all, though. And Chelsea, they've got Aston Villa at home, Southampton, Tottenham away, and Brentford at home. That's a really strong fixtures for Palmer. Meanwhile, at the bottom is Fulham, right at the bottom. Tottenham, Brighton, Arsenal, Liverpool, pretty bad. Everton, they get bad. Manchester United, Wolves, Liverpool and Arsenal, and Manchester United themselves, their fixtures stiffen. They do have Everton and Nottingham Forest, but they've got Arsenal and Man City away, and Liverpool as well. Man City at home, but they do have Everton away and Fulham at home in the mix. But we know Fulham can be pretty good this season, and Southampton are right down near the bottom as well. This makes trying to plan for fixtures and juggle those premiums really difficult, doesn't it? Whilst at the same time, there are some nice enablers from Wolves and Brighton in particular.
Yeah, we can roll up to 5 transfers now, but I feel like we're never going to have enough transfers because, like you say, you want to jump around the premiums. We want to sell Saka, get him back. But I look at this, and Everton and Fulham are top for the next 4 game weeks, but then they're bottom for the following 4 game weeks. So Calvert-Lewin owners, Raul Jimenez owners, when it gets to game week 13, you're looking at Wolves, you're looking at Cunha, you're looking at Strand Larsen, you're looking at the Brighton fixtures improving, João Pedro if he's back, Ruter if he continues playing well. There's a lot of options here. Delap again at Ipswich is second on the ticker, game week 13 to 16. So yeah, not enough transfers to do everything we would like to do. Which again is good because we're going to have to decide and prioritize which of these guys are best. And Wolves is very interesting. I think Ait Nouri is going to be very popular. Semedo got a great assist, but I still think Ait Nouri is the one to own there. And I watched the Wolves game very closely at the weekend because I know the fixtures are turning and I know I'm going to be shopping for Wolves players soon. And I had in my mind that Cunha was the one I wanted. But watching the game, Strand Larsen plays a lot more centrally.
Yeah.
And Cunha, I think, is the better all-round footballer and is more involved linking the play. But Strand Larson might be the best FPL
Yeah.
asset. He might be the one who gets the most points, and he's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So Calvert-Lewin to Strand Larson is something I might do in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, I'm looking at Strand Larson or Kuna. I don't know which one, and so there's a sort of an audition for them against Brighton. See how they do, because that's more of the sort of fixture I want. A team that can give up big chances, who will who will win out there. But yeah, I mean, ordinarily I would say Kuna just because he's more involved. But yeah, I know what you mean about Strand Larson. I don't want him to be like another dud, like around that sort of price level. Don't know him as well as we know Kuna in FPL, but yeah, I definitely feel I need one of them. The interesting for the Sarr Johnson situation. I think Johnson was injured in goal, but Sarr was pretty good, and yeah, Wolves fans like him.
I I I thought Johnson was quite poor against Brentford. I thought he was at fault for a few goals,
Yeah.
and I thought there was a chance he would have been dropped anyway. So there probably is an injury, but it wouldn't have surprised me if Sa came in anyway without the Johnston
Yeah.
injury. So given Sa was really good against City, one or two shaky moments, but that's Jose Sa and a lot of goalkeepers in the league, to be fair. So I expect Gary O'Neill to stick with him if Johnson's fit. It might be Sa's shirt now. Again, FPL wise, you probably just stay away because you don't know what's going to happen there. But again, certainly, on the theme of nostalgia from the start of the podcast, I don't like thinking back to it, but COVID pandemic 2020, when we were all trying to escape, I played Elite Serie in the Norwegian fantasy game, and Strand Larson was a really hot prospect. He
Okay.
didn't do very well that season, but he didn't get enough minutes, but he was only maybe 18, 19, I think, at the time. But yeah, I remember the Norwegians were hyping him up big time, got a couple of good moves, and now he's in the Premier League, and his record is good, in his career. So I really like what I'm seeing of him in the Premier League. I think
Okay.
he's settled in really well.
Okay. Yeah. So lots to consider here. So for me personally, when I'm looking at transfers I'm making now, I have to sort of play in mind, look at the fixture ahead of you, but at the same time look ahead. And so that's why Saka to Palmer makes sense to me, because I know that I'll keep Palmer through this run. Whereas Saka to someone else, perhaps I don't know, someone who hasn't got such good fixtures. An example for if I need to free up some money to go for McNeil. McNeil is a pretty reliable pick, very good player at the moment. He's chipping away with the goals and assists, but he's right down on the bottom of the fixture ticker here. Got Liverpool and Arsenal in this block of fixtures. So I wouldn't go there, for example. Whereas someone like Palmer, I would go to because he's got this good run here, and you get him in for Newcastle as well, which would be good. But yeah, it's tricky. It's a really tricky season. I'm partly enjoying that it's tricky, but I've got a feeling I could end up with quite a poor rank this season. But that's just the way it is. It just depends which ones you hop on or hop off, and which strategy ends up being successful. It's really tough.
That's what we want for FPL. We want some managers doing really well, and we
Mm.
want some managers struggling
Mm.
because that means it's a good game, it's a difficult game,
Mm.
and if you get lucky, you're going to do well. So hopefully, we can make some of our own luck over the next few weeks.
Definitely. Well, let's have a look at your Gameweek 9 side. So I've got a picture of Haaland there because you've got the captaincy armband on. So do you want to read out the side and sort of recap your transfer decision, because you were thinking of Saka out?
Flecken in goal at home to Ipswich, which is fine. Hopefully, Rico Lewis at home to Southampton. He just came in last week. And again, I was encouraged by the positions he was in. So hopefully, attack and returns on the way. Gabriel and Trent play each other, which is not ideal, but both have attacking potential. Midfield five is currently Brennan Johnson and Bumo. Should he be the captain?
Mm-hmm.
Saka, Rogers at home to Bournemouth. Palmer at home to Newcastle. And up front is also two home fixtures, Haaland with the armband against Southampton and Calvert-Lewin,
Yeah.
who's finally going to score against Fulham. And Mikolenko as a solid first bench,
Mm-hmm.
again with a home fixture. I've
Yeah.
lost Greaves to injury, which is not ideal. Chiwome will never play. So I'm down to one sub at the moment, which is not great. So I might need to address that before the Christmas period.
Yeah, I mean, not a problem at the moment, but it could be. I think Greaves. I think I saw November the 24th is when he's sort of penciled in
Yeah,
to return. So that's not
couple of
too
weeks.
bad. And to be honest, you probably wouldn't play him anyway.
Yeah, so transfer-wise, if the deadline was today, I'd probably just not overthink it. Saka out, Heung-min Son comes in. But like I said, I'll keep an eye on the De Bruyne situation because that's tempting with the City fixtures. And I feel like if Haaland's going to do well, chances are De Bruyne will be assisting him.
Yeah.
So the double up is very tempting. But not interested in Bruno or Foden or some of the others. I do think Palmer's the number one choice if you don't already have him. And then it's probably Son next best.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, lots to think about there. Good luck with your transfer decisions, and good luck planning fixtures. We'll be back next week to chat further, see where we are with the fixtures as well. We'll have some more stats as well to help you out around Mark's transfer decisions and your transfer decisions as well. Mark, thanks for joining me. Good luck with the game week, and see you next week.
Good luck, everyone. And don't forget it's a Friday deadline this week. Don't get caught out.